pray with me? God, may your spirit and desire for this community here today flow through my words and encourage growth towards love. Amen. I think I was about 7 or 8 years old when I experienced the shocking realization that not everyone went to church on Sunday. A friend was sharing about something she did on Sunday, and I asked, you didn't go to church? As a PK, which is preacher's kid, as early as I can remember, our family's life revolved around the church and school. I had a bunch of aunts and grandmothers in what is now UWF, United Women of Faith. There were a couple of earlier names for that historically powerful women's group, Women's Fellowship, WSCS, and UMW. And side note, that has always been a strong force of service and giving in the Methodist Church. And the United Women in Faith group here at LBUMC is one of the best I've experienced. In fact, the entire church for me was an extended family well into my youth and young adult years. Even in my rebellious years, I never left the church and the greater connectional activities like camp and conference, well before my call to ministry. I was a child immersed only in the loving care of this extended family and too young to know of the struggles and divisions that the adults were dealing with, as is always the case in the church. My dad was and is a beloved pastor, and we had enduring friendships from each congregation. I was always aware that when people were hurting, he and the church helped them. He's here today, along with my second mom, Bonnie. Wave your hand, Dad. I'm not sure how unique my ideal relationship with the church was. I believe it's possible for the church to be more of that than not, to some extent, and I believe our children need that church. But I admit that there have been times, and I can say what I want since I'm retiring. There have been times when I have allowed the politics and the divisiveness and the unhealthy clergy that had influence and power over me, that anonymous, hateful letter. I have questioned whether I needed the church. I have questioned whether the church needed me. As I preached several months ago, doubting and questioning can be helpful and important. It helps us to wrestle more deeply with what is truly important and what needs to change. Let me share a few reasons why I believe we need the church. While some of this is general about the church, as it should be, a lot of it is about us, LBUMC. In the midst of formulating this sermon, I sent an invitation to many of you to share why you need the church. Kind of a fact check, if you will, and so this isn't just about me. I will be interspersing your responses throughout. And let me say this before any of that. Maybe God and Jesus aren't your thing. That's okay. Maybe you haven't had a healthy relationship with the church, or it has been more harmful than helpful. That's okay. That's what the open doors and the welcome part that we are is all about. Since God and Jesus are our thing, you can substitute love, because that's what they are. There is this mysterious spiritual force that happens when we bring our real vulnerable selves together and risk peeling away some of the protective layers. a communal yearning for a love that is bigger than all of us, and yet intertwined and woven through us. The power of God meeting us and greeting us where we are. Maybe you have felt it, and maybe you haven't. It's here waiting for your invitation. And you shared the following that you need. This is my safe, happy place, the deepening of my faith. How it gives me energy for the week, an anchor, a beacon. Regrounding in the things that are important away from the distractions that are less important during the week. How my soul feels at home. How church keeps me balanced and keeps my activities from being self-centered. The reverence of simply being inside a church. The physical space to connect and draw closer to God and to one another. A space that is filled with love that provides the nourishment to the heart and soul of each of us. How it gives me hope throughout the week. The message each week. The continuity of the traditions and rituals. Accountability. A place to breathe. And now back to me. Music. We are invited week after week to sing our hearts out, even out of tune. There are enough people in tune to cover that. It's incredibly refreshing, especially when we have the level of musical talent we have here. We have some of the very best pianists and vocalists in Southern Orange County. Daniel and Megan, you guys are the absolute best. Praise team. And the choir. And you shared the following that you need. I need the music. My heart and spirit are touched so deeply by singing and sharing God's love. Church fills my heart with song. How open my heart can become through song and the wonder of the moment, that first song, when that first song begins. The sacred music. We are the top. And now back to me. The fellowship, the giving. We are invited to join with others and serve in our community and help one another and give. To remember how we want to live, how we are created to live, who we want to be. We are invited to be in community, to join a small group, a study, to play with kids, and to cook, and to clean the beach, and to pray for one another. You shared the following that you need. A place where I can help other people through our feeding and giving programs. The laughter, the love, the spirit, the kindness, and help and care. Feeling God's guidance through one another. To be with others who are searching for meaning and connection with our Creator. The way my spiritual life grows through the variety of people I am in connection with at church, hearing their stories, supporting their lives, understanding and accepting different faith walks. When I'm stressed about something, the LBUMC family helps me get through it. To be a part of something that is greater than what we could do alone to serve. Than what we could do alone. That was the end of the sentence. To serve works both ways. The people who have loved and helped us when we are in need. Continuing to gather information that helps me on this Christian journey. Dan and I are in the process of selling our house to downsize and live a little more simply. These days, the best way to sell your house, apparently, is to stage it like a model home and make it appear like nobody really lives there. Nobody sleeps there. There's no sign of pets. We have 3. So we spent days with the stagers telling us what to do. We spent days moving lots of furniture and personal stuff into the garage, so now we can't get to a lot of stuff. So our house looks bigger, and the stager moved some other wider furniture, wider, the color, not wider, and stuff in so it looks pretty and fake and light when it's shown. So now each time we show it, we have to go through this whole routine of placing pillows in this certain perky way, hiding trash cans and used towels and shampoo again, taking our cats and dog out of the house, and making sure there's not a stray hair or smudge anywhere. And all the screens are off so that it looks brighter, which means we can't open the windows or sliders. Our wonderful realtor uses the term, how we live in a house is not how we sell a house. Please buy our house so that we can get out of this. But this is what some churches are like. Like the perfectly staged house, some churches do not represent reality or a truly loving God, but a way to mask it and avoid the raw, real, beautiful, flawed, hurting, messy people that we really are. A bunch of souls just trying again to remember that we can be better, we really are loved, and we're not alone. When churches prioritize the marking and the more aesthetic appeal, they cannot also be a community where persons can truly be themselves. Their God is restrictive about how we must be, how we look, who we love, and what we must believe. Let's be clear, we don't need all churches. In our season here, and now, at LBMC, we have a pastor who on his first Sunday stood here and I quote, said to us, "Your new pastor is gay, married, your new pastor is black, yes, and none of that matters because you have a pastor that loves God and is truly a servant." Through that expression and sense, Pastor Courtney models this. I'm going to be real with you. You can be real with me. Not only that, I'm going to acknowledge that you may be feeling cautious and wondering and not necessarily trusting. That was a little more relevant 3 months ago. I think we've come along, right? Let's do this together. Let's be real with each other and God together and see what more can happen. And week after week, we receive messages of hope. And you shared the following that you need. The welcome to all without judgment. Belonging to a congregation that demonstrates Christ's love for who I am for the first time in a long time. The reminder we are all God's children. An open-minded community, acceptance of who I am, the support of my granddaughter and her wife. And now back to me. We need this church and churches like this. I've recently started listening to and reading a lot of Mary Oliver, and I want to share this poem. The Ponds. Every year, the lilies are so perfect, I can hardly believe. their lapped light crowding the black midsummer ponds. Nobody could count all of them. The muskrats swimming among the pads and the grasses can reach out their muscular arms and touch. Only so many that they are rife and wild. But what in this world is perfect? I bend closer and I see how this one is clearly lopsided. That one wears an orange blight. This one is a glossy cheek half nibbled away. That one is a slumped purse full of its own unstoppable decay. Still, what I want in life is to be willing to be dazzled, to be cast aside the weight of the facts, and maybe even to float a little above this difficult world. I want to believe I am looking into the white fire of a great mystery. I want to believe that the imperfections are nothing, that the light is everything, that it is more than the sum of each flawed blossom rising and fading. And I do. We are the imperfect, beloved creations, lopsided and discolored and nibbled away, even decaying. In this great pond of creation, this place called Laguna Beach United Methodist Church, together we can cast aside the weight of those facts in the connection of the open community, in the mysterious force of our prayers, in the joining of our hearts opening to God, and we can float a little above the difficult world. Not deny it and not leave it, but engage with our united power with the light of God that is everything. And you shared, I need God's love coming to life. I hope you join me in the firm belief that we need church. We need this church, this kind of church, and we can rise above the weight of the facts that bring us down, the financial struggles, the disagreements and the hurts, the irritations we might let ourselves feel when things aren't done the way we would do them or we want them. And in Paul's words again, we can always seek to do good to one another and to all, and rejoice always, and bear with one another and forgive each other as we are forgiven. And we can share our spiritual gifts to strengthen one another and be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine. Together in community in the powerful light of God. You have loved me. I'm not going to cry. You have loved me with grace, and so it has been easy to love you and to respond to my call of ministry in this context. Thank you. And I have a gift for you. I want to ask Carrie and Pastor Courtney to come down here. So some of you know that I love ceramics, and I'm doing it more and more. And some of you know that on behalf of Staff Parish, I made a gift for Pastor Courtney when he came of a chalice and a plate. And this is a chalice and a plate for all of you. because it makes me feel like I'm leaving this part of me with you when you do communion. And Carrie is here because she's the communion steward, and so she decides how it's set up. And I said, I don't have two, so it'll have to be unmatched. But maybe we can borrow Pastor Courtney's, and then we can have it's in, I know where it is. So, so this is my love shared with you with gratitude and thanks. And that's the end of my sermon. Thank you.